This is a demonstration of how to use the COUNTIF function to count particular values within a large data set. So imagine that we have data sets like the ones below, where in the first case, we have 45 people, and we want to count the frequencies. And this is referring to the number of children living in their home, and each person answered the question. So we have all of these numbers filled in from 0 to 5. I know that because I tested it using my min-max function. And now we need to count the frequencies. So, and I've already laid out the values that are possible, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know if we have people who answered each of these, but we remember that in a frequency table, we list every possible value within the range of values. So let's go ahead and demonstrate this. So first I'm going to demonstrate doing this by hand. So I've placed my cursor in the cell where I want to get that frequency in there. Start with my equal sign so Excel knows I'm using a formula, and I'm going to type COUNTIF. Put my opening parenthesis. You can see here below it's telling us what to do. So right now I need to select the range, and so I'm going to place my cursor in the top cell where the first person's response is, that person with the 0 children. I'm going to hold down my left mouse key, and then I'm just going to sort of pull this all the way down to the bottom. And right when we get to the last person there, I'm going to let the cursor up. And you'll see now that Excel typed in C6 through C50. If that's your preferred way, you can just type it in instead of selecting it. Next, we put a comma. That's in the demonstration, and it tells us now we're ready to enter the criteria. The criteria is just what you want it to count. So the range is where you want it to count, and the criteria is count what. We want it to count the zeros because we're in the none column. We'll put our closing parenthesis, and it tells us that we have 12 of these participants who had 0 children. Next, we wanted to count the ones, and I'm going to show you a different way. This fx is a function helping tool, and we're going to select it, and this has a ton of functions in it. So if there's something you want to do in Excel, this is a good starting point. Mine has COUNTIF right on top because I just used it, but for you, you're going to type in COUNTIF and hit this go button, and you'll see that for my system 2 options come up, COUNTIF or COUNTIF-S. And if both of these come up for you, it's okay. Choose COUNTIF. We're only counting one criteria, but if this is the only one that shows, this will work just fine. So hit the OK, and now it tells us a little more clearly what to do. It says to type in the range. Now, I already know from the previous problem that this is C6 through C50, but if I wasn't sure, I could do it the very same way. I could select the 0 person, hold that left mouse key down, and pull it down to the end of the data set. And in that case, when I hit enter, it tells me I entered too few arguments. That means that it wants me to finish the formula. Don't hit enter yet. So what I've done is I've gone back up and clicked on the FX, and now there is where I started in this formula. So it's typed in C6 through C50. We're not done with our formula until we tell it what to count. So let's tell it to count 1. And now we can hit enter or OK. And it says that we have 7 of these participants with 1 child. Now I'm going to show you another way that we can do this. And it's just a thing to make it easier. So I know the COUNTIF formula. So I'm just going to type in equals COUNTIF. And now it's sort of a pain to drag it down to get the range. And so if I wasn't sure, and if this was a big data set that was really long, I can use this quick little shortcut to get Excel to select all the data, as long as there are no missing information. To do this, I click in the first cell with my left mouse key. And instead of dragging it down, I'm going to hold down the Control key and the Shift key. And when I'm holding those down, I'm going to hit the down arrow on the keyboard. And now you can see Excel selected everything until the first empty cell. If we had something missing in here and we use that, it would only go to that missing cell. So that's what it does. That's that function. We'll type in the comma. And now we're ready to enter our criteria. We wanted to count the 2s, and we'll hit enter. And so we can continue to do this. We could, I'm going to copy and paste the function, and we're going to see a problem that comes up, and we're just going to solve it. And later I'll show you how to solve that problem more efficiently. So I'm going to now just hit Control-C to copy this function. You could also use this copy button, or you could right-click and select copy. I'm going to now select these next 3, and I'm going to paste it. And you can see now that we have a little error message that came up. And so we're going to just ignore that for now and fix the formula ourselves. And so look what happened here. We want C6 through C50, but this formula changed it to C7 through C51. That's not what we want. Let's go ahead and change it back to C6 through C50 and tell it now we want to count the values 3, and we'll hit enter. All right. Now, I tell you this for a reason. Let's look at what happens in this next cell. Look what it did. Now, instead of C6 through C50, it's giving us C8 through C52. And this is a beautiful referential function that it changes to refer to the cell that's in the same relationship to it as you move down a row of data. So it's called a referential function, but here it's not serving us well. So here we need this to be stable. I'm not showing you in this lesson, but in another lesson, I'll show you how to make it stable so it doesn't do that. For now, we're just changing these and we're counting the values 4. And we find out that 4 people. And finally, we're going to fix this last one. You can see what happened. It went down, we went down a row here and it went down a row too. So we have C6 through C50. And we have our comma still there, and we wanted to count the values 5. So there's a 5. Now, we'll learn later how to make Excel work really well for us without, and only use referential processes when we want them. There's one more quick lesson here. Imagine that you have asked a bunch of children what their favorite pet is, and you want to count how many of each pet there is. In order to do this, we need to use the very same formula, but we're going to make one change. So let's use our function bar so it's laid out really clearly in front of you. We want our COUNTIF. So let's search for it. There it is. Again, you can use the COUNTIF S if that's the only one that shows up. Our range, we can see it all on the screen. We're counting the pets in this column. That's where we want Excel to look for us, I6 through I36. And the first criteria is going to be dog. And we're typing in these letters, and watch what Excel does with our formula. If you look back at our formula, it put quotation marks around the word dog. And whenever you want Excel to search for text instead of numbers, you just put quotation marks around it, and that's what it will do. Let's look at this one more time. So let's go ahead and have Excel search out the number of cats for us. We'll use the function tool again. We'll just click on COUNTIF here and click OK. Let's get that range right here. And let's type in cat. And scrolling down, I can see someone said hamster. I can see someone said gerbil. How am I going to tell if I've captured every single one? Well, the way to check is we're going to just add up. We have 31 children, so we should have 31 as the total frequency. So let's get a sum going. We know how to do this. Let's get the sum of all of the cells here. It says 21, so we know we have 10 animals to go. When this says 31, we'll know we've gotten everything. So let's go ahead and use our function equals COUNTIF. And here we'll just type it in. Let's get our range, put the comma, and we'll type in hamster. We have 3. We can use our function again. Let's get our range. And let's type in gerbil. And we have 2, we're up to 26. So we have a few more pets to go. Eyeballing it, I can see ferret. We can use our function tool. There's our range, and let's count ferret. None. That's because I spelled it wrong. Look at that. Let's get rid of that second T. And there we go. Oh, we only have 27. We still have to find 4 more. I'm going to move this formula, this sum down. I'm going to just use my cut function, Control X. I'm not going to use my cut function because that function's a little strict. That functions differently in Excel, and I don't want to teach that right now. Let's just make a new sum formula, pull it down a little bit. I don't know how many animals are left. And here, let's just eyeball. I can see bird, I can see lizard, I can see none. Let's see if that wipes it out for us. Let's try bird, lizard, none. And let's go ahead and type in equals COUNTIF. And here's our range. And our criteria is bird, criterion. We have 2 birds. We're at 29. I think we're going to make it. I think we can see that none has 1 and lizard has 1. And that brings us to 31. So we have everything accounted for. If we didn't, we might need to, if we had a really big data set and we didn't know what we were missing, probably what I would do is alphabetize the list, and then I would be able to see a little more evenly what all the values were. I hope this was helpful. Thank you.